Welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. I'm here with one of my favorite guys, Mitch Eisenstein. It's a tough day for Mitchell today. We're going to get there a little later. I'm sorry, Mitchell. I'm sorry.
Richard, I'm not even going to lie to you. I was crying earlier today before we jumped on. It's been a long weekend. I mean, the Harbaugh brothers kicked me when I was down last night, 49-0, Michigan against my alma mater, Michigan State. And then the Detroit Lions just, I don't even know. But we can get to that later, Richard. We got news to talk about up in Seattle. I mean, let's start with some level of positivity here before you beat me.
Defense. Oh,
defense.
What a difference Richard, a couple weeks makes, Mitchell. This defense, everybody last year, they got to figure it out on defense. What's Clint Hurtt doing? 2 weeks in a row, they don't win because of their defense. Well, last week they should have won because of their defense. They did not win, but their defense played really well against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. The offense disappeared in the red zone, gave up some sacks, and play as well as they needed to. This week, again, the defense was not going to allow this thing to go bad. The Seahawks had 3 turnovers in the game. They came into the game with only 3 turnovers on the season, Mitchell. So Pete Carroll prides his teams on turnover differential. Like, you're not going to give the ball away. That's not going to be how we lose the game. Unfortunately, they turned it over. But they only scored 3 points off of them, Mitchell, because of that Seahawks defense. Give Jordan Brooks a lot of credit. Darrell Taylor had a coming out party. They had 4 sacks on the game. Jaron Reed continues his leadership in his career year. Boye Mafe got him on the board again. Guys are getting there. They're getting a lot of pressure, but don't forget about the Hall of Famer. First ballot. 9-time All-Pro. Is it 10 now? Might be 10. It's good. Infinite. It doesn't matter. When they start, they'll talk to accolades on the first ballot when they give him his jacket. But his leadership, along with this corner play, these corners are playing some really good football. These safeties, Quandre Diggs, Julian Love. And then guess who's back? Guess who's off the Mazak? Jamal Adams, one of the better safeties in the National Football League, is back and playing his role incredibly well. Give him all the credit in the world. Geno played good enough. But JSN, DK Metcalf was down coming into this game. He was injured. He did not play, did not suit up. So they needed a bigger game from Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, and he delivered for a touchdown in the game. His first career touchdown. Woo! First of many. Led the team in receiving, Mitchell. It was a joy to watch. I can't wait. I think these Seahawks, are they going to sneak into my power rankings? I wanted that win last week. Do I want to sneak them in? I wanted that win last week, Mitchell. You give me that win last week, they in my power ranks. I don't know. I want to put them in, Mitchell. What you think?
I think that this team's looking pretty darn good. And Richard, I'll say this. You touched on it briefly. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba needed this game more than anyone else on the Seahawks roster. I mean, he's the highly touted, first-round pick out of Ohio State. I was talking about him before he was even drafted. I love this kid. I mean, he was a beast at Ohio State. And, Richard, he finally got his name called. DK Metcalf being out this game was probably the best thing that could have happened to the Seattle Seahawks because I think it gave JSN some confidence. I think they've got another guy in that offense. And, Richard, John Schneider has done it again after again after again. It reminds me when you were drafted. I mean, there was 3 drafts in a row where he just hit it out of the park. And Richard, he did it. He's done it consecutive drafts. I mean, Seattle's stacked with young talent, offensive line, young talent. You already touched it. Defensive line's getting after the quarterback. Bobby Wagner holding it down. The skill positions now are starting to rise up. You see my boy K9 still doing what he's doing, over 100 yards.
Yes,
I mean, come on now.
Yes, sir.
But the arrival of JSN, if this team wants to tip the scales and turn into NFC contenders, it starts with that man right there.
And then you can't forget about Bobo. Bobo Mitchell from UCLA. He's playing good football. He's been, he was a feel-good story coming out of training camp, making the team. People didn't expect a lot. He had 4 catches for 61 yards, a TD, his first career touchdown, along with Jackson Smith and Jigba. These guys are going to be part of the future. Foundational pieces is what John Schneider has found. Foundational. You talk about Devin Witherspoon and how he played against one of the best receivers in the National Football League in Jamar Chase. Fearless. And that's not even including a pick six, a couple games ago, 97 yards or so. I'm sure that's some kind of Seahawks rookie record. Then you talk about Tariq Woolen, who we haven't heard a lot about because it's not a lot to hear. He's playing good football. You're not going to hear about him. Then you talk about Boye Mafe, like amongst the league leaders in pressure rate and pass rush win rate. Of course he is. And Jared Reed, a guy who they let go somewhere else, but they drafted him to the Seattle Seahawks initially. Another guy, and then Darrell Taylor, who hasn't had the best start to his career, but showed flashes week in and week out, and finally got home this week. And then you got Jackson Smith and Jigba. Then you got the two tackles, Abe Lucas and Charles Cross. And then you got your boy K. Now, Mitchell, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
The biggest scouting story, I think, of everything you just said is Jake Bobo. The guy ran a 4.99 at the combine, Rich. That he's not an offensive guard. He is a wide receiver in this league running a 4.99. God bless him. 4 receptions, 61 yards, and a tutty. A nice little toe tap that they reviewed in that end zone. Richard, Seattle fans should be happy. They got a big game next week against the up-and-coming Browns.
For a limited time, Verizon customers can get Netflix and NFL Plus for just $25 a month with Plus Play. That's $120 of annual savings. Plus Play is a platform where Verizon customers can shop, manage, and save on subscriptions you already love, like Netflix and NFL Plus. With NFL Plus Premium, you get access to live games on mobile, NFL Red Zone, NFL Network, and more. Just go to Verizon.com/plus play to bundle and save on Netflix and NFL Plus today for a limited time only.
The NFL season is going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this October. Get in on the game day greatness. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code RICHARD. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's code RICHARD. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
But we got to go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
And this is the point where, Richard, you've got to uplift my spirits here, because I'm to the point where I'm just, I told you last week, I was fired up. This is an opportunity for them to really show who they are, to make a statement. They're the number one team in this league. I thought they were going to do it, and I was oh so wrong.
Metro,
what in the world happened?
Metro, I like the Detroit Lions. I do. I like them. I cheer for them. I wanted to feel good. Dan Campbell's a good guy. My boy E-Man just went out, but he's with those guys. They got a lot of good players that you want to cheer for. I like Jared Goff. But Mitchell, they better not run into no red lights on their way home, because they got the brakes beat off of them. Mitchell, they ain't going to be able to stop, Mitchell, because they got the brakes beat off them. They went to Baltimore, and Lamar Jackson said, "Usher, watch this." Mitchell, and he did it with his legs. He did it with his arm. He had 155.8 passer rating, 3 touchdowns passing, 21 of 27, 357, along with 9 rushes for 36 yards, Mitchell. And he went to his favorite guys. He went to Mark Andrews all the time, over and over. And Mitchell, he did it. Zay Flowers, the Boston College product, out there making big play after big play. It was fun to watch that offense, if you're a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, that is, of course, because they've been struggling. You look at that team and you look how they played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're like, maybe this team isn't who we thought they were. And then this game against one of the top teams in the National Football League, some people had them number 1 in their power rankings. Not me. I didn't have them number 1, Mitchell. I didn't, 2. You talked me into the 2. I almost went 4, but I'm gonna start going with my first. But they did, like, you can't speak highly enough about what Lamar Jackson did in this game. He executed at a high level against a really good team. Jared Goff struggled. This was probably his worst game, maybe his worst game as a Lion. Amon-Ra St. Brown still got his, but under 10 yards to catch, Jamar Gibbs was having a solid game, both on the ground and through the air, but some of those were garbage yards. But Lamar Jackson against NFC teams is 16-1. I mean, with the way everybody else is playing, Pat Mahomes played crazy today. He threw for 424. But I think Lamar Jackson is in that MVP race with him. Obviously, CMC struggled last week and got hurt. I mean, Baltimore was up 28-0 before Detroit ever got a first down, Mitchell. That kind of beating is rare.
Can I speak now? Because I feel like you just put me to the ground deeper and deeper and deeper, Rich. I mean, I feel I already told you I was on the verge of tears, man.
You breach it down before I build you
Richard,
up.
do something to uplift my spirits here.
I'm about to build you up, Mitchell. You know what's going to build you up, Mitchell? The Raiders. All
right, go ahead.
The Las Vegas Raiders are going to build you up, Mitchell. You want to take a fun trip, Mitchell? You get in that plane. I know Delta's not a sponsor, but I'm Delta Diamond, so I'm going to mention them today. You get in that Delta flight, go ahead and find you a nice seat, maybe an exit row, first class if you're feeling sexy, and get on to Las Vegas, get you a nice seat in that stadium, Mitchell. Probably a lot of free seats because Raiders fans ain't gonna keep coming to these stadiums if they getting beat by the Bears the way they did.
Rich, well, I would love to go to Las Vegas. The game's in Detroit. So It makes me feel even better.
What?
Yeah, it makes me feel even better because I can just drive 15 minutes down the road. I can tailgate, and I can enjoy a bounce-back game against the Raiders. But, Richard, like you said, the game was 28-0 before the Lions even got the first down. And I'll say this much. As a guy that follows the NFC that doesn't get to watch every one of Lamar Jackson games, Lamar Jackson looks like a legit MVP candidate right now. I mean, on that second touchdown to Nelson Aguilar, Richard, he was scrambling in the back of the – he was scrambling in the pocket, out of the pocket. 9.8 seconds before he released the football to Nelson Aguilar. There is no other person on this universe that can make a play like that. He is a one-on-one guy, and he is not a run-first quarterback anymore. He's making plays with his arms. 21-27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't know how they can keep playing like that, but if they do play like that, Baltimore said a lot to me today. They're a legitimate contender in the AFC, and I'm just praying. I'm just praying don't know who's that this was just one of those games for the Lions, Rich. I'm just praying. Richard, it pains me to do this, but we have to do it. We got our friends over at Uber Eats. Our segment brought to you by Uber Eats, the almost perfect defense, where we highlight the NFL defense that put on the week's most dominating performance. It hurts, but the Baltimore Ravens deserve it, Richard. They absolutely killed my Detroit Lions, allowing a season-low 6 points for my Detroit Lions. Picked off Jared Goff, sacked him 5 times. They were all over the field. They ended the Lions' 15-game streak of scoring 20-plus points. Baltimore has allowed an NFL low 7 touchdowns this season. Richard, this team, they're looking pretty damn good. Your thoughts on this Baltimore defense?
Well, you got to give them credit, man. Like you said, 7 touchdowns on the entire season. They're playing great football. They're winning ball games, and Lamar Jackson is playing his best football at the time they need him to play his best. Whew. I mean, I understand that's why they were the almost perfect defense of the week. And remember, you can order almost anything you want with Uber Eats, the official partner, the official on-demand partner of the NFL. Order now. I just don't know who's good in the NFL right now. Baltimore loses to Pittsburgh, and then I'm like, okay, right. Baltimore, maybe they are who we think they are. And then Detroit's beating everybody and then loses by 32 to Baltimore. And you're like, wait, what? And then you're like, the Buffalo Bills, they're who we think they are. And then, of course, Mitchell, the Buffalo Bills do what, Mitchell? They want to make sure that they want to make sure my power rankings just get destroyed week in and week out. They go out to London town and lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who may find their way into my power rankings. I just saw them in person, and they looked very impressive now. Could they have still lost that game? Potentially, but they didn't lose it. They won it, so they're going to find their way in. But Buffalo Bills had what most would consider a layup in New England. Sitting there watching Belichick Mac Jones has been terrible the whole year. People were hearing about Belichick's extension in private and secret and like, oh my God, what are they doing? Like, yada, yada. I was sitting there calling for maybe Belichick, you should sit down. But of course, he didn't sit down. His defense played really well. Josh Allen threw interceptions, 27-41 for 265. Just wasn't that impressive. He fumbled the football. They held James Cook relatively quiet. Stephon Diggs, they held him in check. That defense that you expect so much from in Buffalo just did not have it today. They didn't have it. They let Mac Jones be efficient to the tune of 25-30 for 272 and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. Mac Jones been giving interceptions to everyone. I almost caught one the other day, and I haven't suited up in 2 years. And they did 126.7 passer rating. I got you, babe. I hear you. My boy KB got him 6 for 63 in a tug. Jabril Peppers played well. That was New England's second win of the season. Now, there's some concern that got to be concerned in Buffalo. You go out and lose to Jacksonville, which Jacksonville is winning right now. They're 5-2. People can understand that loss. Man, Jacksonville came early. They're coming together. Good coach and Doug Peterson. All right, we got you. Good defensive coordinator. Mike Caldwell got those guys getting the football, turn the ball over. Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, is amongst the leaders in sacks. Okay, I can live with that. But New England? Division game, and they have to bottom. They got one win on the season. I don't know, Mitchell. That just didn't feel right, and they're going to make their way out of my power rankings, and they got a lot of questions to answer.
They sure do. This one's, to me, is more shocking than the Lions. I mean, I in the back of my mind, the Lions going into Baltimore, pulling off a win, like I was optimistic of it, but it didn't happen. They got blown out. Stuff like that happens. We saw Miami get blown out against these same Bills team, right?
Right.
The Bills, to your point, they needed to secure this identity as the elites in the AFC, and you figured they would do it against New England, and they take the L. And I'm confused. I'm right there with you, Rich. I was wrong about pretty much every game today. And this game is the most puzzling to me because I thought New England was the rock bottom of this league. And maybe, just maybe, Bill Belichick has got something up his sleeve still, Rich. But Mac Jones, 25 of 30, 272 and 2 tutties. And this team looks like they got a little bit of life in them. Maybe this is their last one of the year, but they sure made it look good right now, Rich.
They made it look good right now, and good for them. They're battling. They got some tough games on the docket, but I don't know what tough games look like for them now because they beat Buffalo, but they got Miami again. They made it a dogfight last time, and I'm sure it's going to be a dogfight this time. I still think Miami's going to win it, but I mean, yeah, I don't know anymore. I don't know, but the Bills got the Bucks, Mitchell, and guess where they go? I get to go see them. TNF, Amazon Prime. Make sure you get your Prime membership so you can catch that game because I will be there, or y'all can be square. And I'm going to be trying to figure out who Josh Allen is, who Baker Mayfield is. They scored 13 points today. I don't know. But I got to watch that game, Mitchell, and I get to analyze it. People don't always like what I got to say, but I'll tell you what, I just say what the tape say. Maybe y'all don't watch the tape. I'm not a fan of either team. Now, I might be a little biased with the Seattle Seahawks and San Francisco 49ers, but outside of that, I'm pretty straight. I'm going to call it like I see it. And the one I'm going to call like I see is the LA Chargers. What is going on? Like, this is why when the Dallas Cowboys beat them, by 3, and Skip Bayless was over there to the mountaintops, I was like, I don't know, because they give up 300 yards passing a game, and you guys only had 270. But you know who took full advantage of that? Patrick Mahomes. He threw for 424, 4 touchdowns, 129.5 passer rating each. Like, there's too much talent on this defense for them to be getting shredded, and especially in the secondary. You got good secondary players, Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James. I mean, Davis is a pretty good, solid corner. Like, he's not bad. I don't understand why it's this bad. And they have a coach that's supposed to be a defense. Brandon Staley's supposed to be a defensive coach. When the Rams were having all those great years and defense was playing out of their mind, he was the coordinator, and everybody thought he's so innovative. People stealing his concepts, stealing his plays, stealing his coverages. What's going on? Like, it's like You are taking, you know how you say you could take whatever and make lemonade? Mitchell, he's taking sugar, water, lemons, and making feces somehow. Mitchell, it stinks. It does not smell good. And they let Travis Kelce, like, you didn't even get surprised. It's not even like they said, hey, you know, we're going to let somebody else beat us. You're going to let Sky Moore beat you, or McCole Hardman, who just got in. Like, we're going to let, you know, Valdez Scantling, you know, he went off. He had 3 big catches for 84 yards and touchdown. You let Travis Kelce, his go-to guy, main guy, catch 12 footballs for 179 yards and a touchdown? When you got Jerwin James? Mitchell, I know some 12-year-olds, some 10-year-olds. My son Rayden can get on Madden right now and come up with a plan to make sure at least Travis don't have 12 for 179. Like, they can find out some plan for him. Maybe he might have 8 for 95 and a touchdown. But 12 for 179, Mitchell, that's inexcusable. I really don't understand how you do that as a defense. Great job, Travis. You know, no slight to Travis, but he's their best player. It's no surprise he's getting the ball.
I'm right there with you. Brandon Staley's job, his seat has got to be super hot, because this team, they've got all the talent in the world on both sides of the ball, and they're 2-4. They just can't get it done. There's nothing surprising about this team. You know, it's, to me, if you put a legit coach, give Dan Campbell the reins in LA, Rich. Give Dan Campbell, this team might be 4-2. Every week in, week out. And you know what? You know what's special about the Chargers, Richard? They are the honorees of our Morgan and Morgan segment this week. This week's Making It Look Easy Player of the Week, brought to you by Morgan and Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Travis Kelce, because of Brandon Staley's inability to take the best player on the field outside of Patrick Mahomes out of the game. They just give him free reign. Hey, let's just match a linebacker against him all day. 12 receptions, 179 and a tutty, Rich. Travis Kelce is our Morgan and Morgan making it look easy player of the week. I don't know if much else needs to be said, but I think the Chargers are at rock bottom right now. Travis Kelce's clearly doing something right, both on and off the field, Rich. Let's look at both, you know. Come on, let's go TMZ here, right? He just bought a new house in Kansas City
Metro
for his love life with Taylor Swift to blossom, and now his playing career continues to blossom.
And Mitchell, I heard a lot.
Travis Kelce's are making
it look easy.
Travis Kelce's
Player of the Week.
Player of the Week.
Player of the Week.
If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan and More. If you are ever injured, you can check out Morgan and Morgan. Go to forthepeople.com/Sherman or dial pound law. That is pound 529. Winning in this league is incredibly hard, especially if you're a Detroit Lions fan right now. It's hard, man. Or if you're an LA Chargers fan. But hiring Morgan and Morgan is really easy. Richard, let's take it down to Cleveland, or let's take it down to Indianapolis, where the Cleveland Browns continue their win streak here. They're 4-2. How good are the Cleveland Browns? What are your expectations of this team? Are they ever going to see Richard Sherman's power ranks in your top 5? And what do they have to do to earn your respect, Rich?
Mitchell, they're sneaking in there. Their defense is going to be the reason they get in there one of these days, Mitchell. And this is probably, honestly, their worst defensive day. And they had a great day.
Sure.
And Myles Garrett had a tremendous day, defensive player of the year type day. This is a career-defining type day. 2 forced fumbles I think he had 2 forced fumbles on sacks. One of them led to a touchdown, a blocked field goal that almost led to another touchdown. He was single-handedly keeping them in the game for a while when Deshaun Watson was trying to throw the game away. And we got to figure out what's wrong with Deshaun Watson. Clearly, we were all concerned and like, oh, why is he? You know, the coach says he's healthy enough to play, and he's not playing. And then they're like, oh, we don't, you know, it's nothing structurally wrong with it. But clearly something's wrong with it. He does not look like himself. He was 1 for 5 for 5 yards and an interception, almost had a second interception before they gave the reins to P.J. Walker. I really want to know what's going on. But that defense is playing good football. But Gardner Minshew was having his way for a little while, Mitchell. He was having his way until Denzel Ward got that interception. He was having his way, slicing and dicing. He was 15 of 23 for 305 and 2 touchdowns. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns, Mitchell. Sometimes It's subtraction. I mean, addition by subtraction. You lose the rookie for the year, and people are like, oh, it's the backup Gardner Minshew. No, you better be careful with these backups. There's a couple of them. Jameis, Dalton, Minshew, they can have bad games. It's the reason they backups. You will say that. But if they're on, they are on. And he was on today. And then you look at Jonathan Taylor. You forgot about him. 3 catches, 45 yards, 8 rushes for 75 yards. Michael Pittman Jr. only had 2 catches, but bombs. And guy had him a touchdown. But they got cheated, Mitchell. Didn't they get cheated? I feel like they got cheated.
I think they did too. I mean, I think the Colts probably deserve to play to win this game. They play one of the best games of the year. I think they found a stud in Josh Downs too out of UNC. 5 receptions, 125, and a touchdown. But there's something to be said here. I mean, obviously there's controversy at the end of this game. You know, back-to-back penalties on the Colts, an illegal contact, a defensive pass interference. You know, a fumble was nullified by the defensive pass interference. I mean, there was a lot going on there. I think the Browns got very fortunate to win this game. But that being said, they did win the game, and they won it. They won it down to Deshaun Watson. They won it with PJ Walker at the helm. They've overcome adversity this year. You know, Nick Chubb goes down, catastrophic knee injury, right? Jerome Ford rises to the occasion. Big run early in this game from him. The Browns, you know, they clearly have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Myles Garrett, to me, is the best thing to come to Cleveland outside of LeBron James, athletically, right? I mean, the guy is an absolute stud muffin, and he's doing it. Stud muffin, Rich. I mean, how else would you classify the guy?
I don't know. I had a lot of things in line before stud muffin, but I'm with you, man.
If they got a player they can build around, he is San Francisco's Nicholas John Bosa. This guy can do it. And Cleveland, if they get healthy at the right time, they could be a force in the AFC. We shall see. You know, again, they're playing your Seahawks. They're in Seattle next week, so that's going to be the benchmark game for them. Let's see what they do there, and we're going to revisit if they're legit or not. And if they win that game, Rich, just maybe they deserve to be in your top 5. But I don't want to set it for you. That's up to you.
Yeah, Mitchell. You're not going to set it for me. I know what you got going. But you're right. But they have a good defense. But this is the worst they've played. They gave up 456 yards to Gardner Minshew, 38 points to Gardner Minshew. We all talked about how well they played against the San Francisco 49ers and how well they had been playing all season. This was kind of a downer game, but they still found a way to win with PJ Walker. I'm excited to see what they're going to do against the Seattle Seahawks because the Seattle Seahawks defense is playing really good right now, and I'm excited for that matchup. The Colts and Saints are going to be an interesting matchup. The loser of that game is going to have a lot of questions to answer. Derek Carr, what's going on with you? Why are things going so bad? Why are you getting pissed off at people when you're making the wrong read on the play? Things of that nature. Oh, they're killing the kid who dropped the pass. But it's another week, and Green Bay loses to the Denver Broncos for their second win of the season, Mitchell.
This just tells me no one wants Caleb Williams in the draft because every team that had an opportunity to just tank and set their sights on the future for Mr. Caleb Williams just won today. Yeah. And Denver's another team that did just that. I don't know about this team. I feel the same way about this team as when they came into this week. I'm not a fan of the Denver Broncos team. I think they've got a lot of questions to be answered. But this game tells me the Green Bay Packers are in some trouble, Rich. They do not look good by any means right now. I think that we're going to have to see a factory reset of this team. I don't know if Jordan Love's the guy. I know he's still young, but I mean, let's be real here. He's been in this league for several years now. He played behind one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it in Aaron Rodgers, and he's not.
You're not what, Mitchell? You're not what?
He's not doing anything super impressive, Rich. I mean, come on. I mean, do you believe in Jordan Love? I mean, if you were on this team, would you have confidence in him?
Mitchell, I said it at the beginning of the year. Packers fans were in my mentions, very pissed off that I said it. I said, you do not strike gold 3 times. You had Brett wheeling and dealing, got your Super Bowl. Good years at quarterback. Risky, but good years. You had Aaron, less risky, great years, 4-time MVP. You weren't happy. He wanted to do ayahuasca. And you guys are upset. He's taking dark room retreats. You guys getting upset. I'm going to let you know something. I guarantee if you had him right now, you'd be like, go ahead and take your dark room retreat. Come back and slay for us. Because are you guys doing any better without him? You know, is the grass greener on the other side, or is it still just grass? Because it looks still like grass without 4 MVPs. It just looks like grass. Jordan Love isn't playing awful. He's not playing bad. He's playing solid football, just not well enough to overcome the deficiencies that you guys have. And defensively, you guys aren't doing enough to overcome a young quarterback, and that's week in and week out. You know, these guys could easily be 1-6. I mean, 1-5 right now if they didn't have that comeback win. The field goal kicker missed against the Saints. You know, we'd be talking about a 1-5 Green Bay Packers team, and it'd be a lot easier to have that conversation. You'd be talking about, you know, what do they change next year? But this was a bad loss to him, a great win for the Broncos. Russell Wilson played a solid game, 20 of 29, 194 and a touchdown, 98.9 passer rating. Cortland Sutton had a solid game. P.J. Locke had interception. But again, it's going to be another benchmark game next week for the Denver Broncos playing against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Every time you think you got a chance, make sure every time you think, oh, we're going to get a little bit of momentum, they got to play Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's tough. And they got to respond.
Well, I feel like we just saw that matchup on Thursday Night Football last week, if I'm not mistaken, Rich.
You're right.
And I have a feeling it's going to be a lot worse than it was on Thursday night. I think the Chiefs are coming into their own. The Broncos are still that same team. Congrats to them, got the win today. But the Green Bay Packers, over the last 4 games, started out the first half 63-6 in favor of their opponents. I mean, this tells you something. They have got to figure it out. You know, the first possession of the game should be the easiest, right? You can game plan it in your hotel room, get everything right and ready. And the Packers can't even get it going from the jump. So, Richard, they play a foe in the Vikings, a division foe next week. If they can't get it right then, they might have to just start thinking about the aforementioned Caleb Williams.
Mitchell, Caleb Williams.
With only 2 wins on the season, it's not too late to start tanking.
I don't know if Caleb Williams is the answer for everybody, Mitchell. They're starting to see cracks in the Caleb Williams armor, Mitchell. They're starting to look at his film and say, plays really good against non-elite teams, and then against those elite teams, his numbers look very pedestrian. Now, not to say the arm talent and everything he has isn't there, and he may be a better pro, just like Patrick Mahomes didn't play incredible in college against top teams, but guess what? Against the league teams, he acts like he's playing in his backyard against lesser talent. So you never know. But I don't know. We'll get to the end of the season, figure out who's going to get him, and then we'll talk that talk. But Pittsburgh and the Rams, Pittsburgh and Kenny Pickett. Yes, he can. Kenny Pickett. Yes, he can. Again, Kenny Pickett to George Pickens. Kenny Pickett to George Pickens. He finally figured it out, Mitchell. Throw the ball to George Pickens early and often. Please, you'll win ball games. Whatever you do, if you don't do nothing else, throw it to George Pickens. Their defense played pretty well again. TJ Watt is going to make an impact on the game. He had an interception in the game. Najee Harris had 14 carries, 53 yards, and a touchdown. But somehow they kept Cooper Kupp in check, Mitchell. I don't know how they did it, but they couldn't keep Puka Nacua in check, Mitchell. He had 8 for 154, but they just couldn't get in that end zone like they needed to. Only 17 points. Matthew Stafford, who's been having a really good season, was 14 of 29, less than 50% completion percentage, Mitchell. 231, a touchdown, and that critical interception to TJ Watt. Puka Nacua. What a story.
He sure is. He's a second player with 150-plus yards in a game. 4th rookie last 10 years with multiple 150-plus yard games, Richard. That is wild. The other people on that list, OBJ, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Again, Puka Nacua, 4th rookie in the last 10 years with multiple 150-yard games. Richard, this game's telling me a lot, though, and it's telling me Mike Tomlin should not be slept on. He is a Coach of the Year candidate. No one has done more with less than Mike Tomlin, especially over the last few years. I mean, this Pittsburgh team seems to be lacking in talent, but they don't seem to be lacking in wins. Rich, they're 4-2 right now. I don't know how they do it. You know, they beat the Baltimore Ravens, who, like you said, beat the brakes off of my Detroit Lions, who are still rolling down the road brakeless, right? I don't know if they've been able to stop on their way home. And Richard, they do it against a Rams team that's looked impressive this year. I mean, their record's 3-4 now, but this is a team I think that is rising back up to what they were a little bit, and the Steelers dispose of them relatively easily on the road. Kenny Pickett, yes, he can. Had no interceptions today, which and he needed a game like this. And Najee Harris, a guy that really hasn't done a whole lot on the season, was able to get in the end zone today. Richard, what are your expectations going forward of the Steelers? I know there's a lot of question marks within the NFL as a whole, but are the Steelers a division contender in your eyes?
No question, Mitchell. And you got to give Mike Tomlin credit. He has never had a losing season in 17 years of coaching, but he's not getting Coach of the Year considerations. People don't consider him one of the if not the all-time great, because Belichick has the 6 rings with Brady. But if that didn't happen, Mitchell, you'd have to talk about him as one of the greatest coaches ever, because he's never had a losing season, regardless of who his quarterback is, regardless of if he has Hall of Famers or not on his defense. He's a great coach. He doesn't make excuses. He coaches men. He talks to them like men, and they're having a good season. So, yes, you give him consideration. But, again, a great litmus test is coming up with the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into town and Trevor Lawrence. If they can get that win, Mitchell, again, my power rankings are open for business, and I would love to see it. The Rams have a bounce-back opportunity against the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry's world. Can they do it? Matt Stafford usually plays well in Jerry's world. He's back close to his home. I'm trying to figure out. Maybe he can do it. Maybe he can't. But it's going to be some good games, and some. We'll know more after that week for sure.
Yeah, well, we're almost entering the midpoint of the season now, and teams are starting to separate themselves. But again, question marks abound. New York. Here's the team that was down and out. Another team in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes that just says, screw it, we're going to take the win instead. Tyrod Taylor, your boy, Tyrod, Virginia Tech product, goes out and gets the win. I mean, frankly, he's probably better than Daniel Jones at this point. Tyrod, 18 of 29, 279, 2 tutties, 116.9 passer rating. Saquon Barkley did his thing, made an impact on this game, had a receiving touchdown on a big play there. But shockingly, I mean, I expected more out of Washington. I thought Sam Howell looked all right. You know, we thought he was coming to life. And New York's defense has come to life over these last couple of weeks. And they're giving this team hope. And they were able to pull off a big division win against these Washington Commanders. Richard, I know it's relatively meaningless. These are 2 sub-500 teams. But what do you like about the Giants?
I like Tyrod.
Now? Anything?
I like Tyrod Taylor. And I like everybody else a lot more when Tyrod's playing. Darren Waller probably likes playing football a lot more when Tyrod Taylor's playing, because he had no touchdowns on the season until Tyrod Taylor played, and now he's having one of his best. He had one of his best games of the season. Had a great game. I'm sure he's very excited with it. You talk about Saquon having one of his better games. Hey, you open up the pass game. He got a receiving touchdown. That was a beautiful pass from Tyrod. 21 rushes for 77 yards. But that defense, Dexter Lawrence coming to life, 2 sacks. Kayvon Thibodeau, 1.5 sacks. Deontay Banks had an interception on a great play by him, sneaking into that cover too and coming up and intercepting that ball. But give Washington a lot of credit too, because their D-line and their defense is playing well. You finally get some real good production from Chase Young, 2 sacks. Montez Sweat, a sack. That New York offensive line has been porous all year. But good job, Tyrod. People are going to question, is he better than the other guy? Yes, right now he is. He's playing better than him.
Yes, he is.
But they're going to bring him back when he comes back. They're going to bring him back and insert him right back into the starting lineup, because they paid him so much money. That's why the cautionary tale about who you pay, because you could have got better play from Tyrod Taylor than you could Daniel Jones, but you got to play Daniel Jones now, even though Tyrod is playing better and putting your team in a position to win ball games, and Daniel Jones has not. But it is what it is. We got to move on to the NFC South, a division between Atlanta and Tampa. What I thought Tampa would pull this one off, especially with Desmond Ridder. 3 red zone turnovers. I thought there's no way they're winning this game. There's no way. They won the game, Mitchell. He lost 3 fumbles, fumbled one into the end zone for a touchback. I mean, their best player, Bijan Robinson, got hurt or sick early in the game. I mean, didn't have any. I don't think he had a touch on the game. He only had like 6 plays. I just didn't understand that. And Baker Mayfield struggled through this game, but he still had 275, a touchdown, an interception, 3 rushes for 32 yards. But it just wasn't enough, and it never looked like they were comfortable. They only scored 13 points in the game. I get to watch them next week on Thursday Night Football. You know, Mike Evans, one of the most underrated receivers in the National Football League's history, had a solid game, 6 catches for 82 yards and a long touchdown. But I just don't understand what happened. You know, give Atlanta's defense credit, but there were still some one-on-ones that I think they could have took advantage of.
Well, this NFC South is looking pretty rough right now, Rich, and I want your input on who do you think is going to win, because you got the Tampa Bay Bucks, like you said, 3 red zone turnovers that they forced against Desmond Ridder. Is he the guy in Atlanta? Probably not. I mean, they got a lot of talent there. I think he might be holding them back, especially with those 3 red zone turnovers. I don't have faith in Atlanta. Tampa Bay, I thought we had faith in them. I mean, you're going to see them on Thursday night, but they lose an at-home game against a division foe. The Saints, Derek Carr looked absolutely brutal on Thursday night. You had a first-hand view of that. And then Richard, Carolina Panthers. Who wants to win this division? Who do you think eventually will win this division? Because someone's going to have to win this division.
I don't know. I think at this point, I mean, this game was a good barometer. I thought it was going to be Tampa because they beat the Saints. But, I mean, it looks like Atlanta now. Every week it looks like somebody different. So I don't know. I can't guess it. We're going to have to just wait till this one plays out. Last year, the winner of this division had under 500 record, I believe. It was Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I just don't really know. It's a weird year right now, and we got to keep letting the games play out. But good win for the Atlanta Falcons. And thank you guys again for joining us. Join us again next week for our special guest. Appreciate you every time you join us. Appreciate you coming through again. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Join me and my guy, Mitch Eisenstein, every week. Same time, same place. See you there. Time for another week of the VLTED Challenge. Mitchell, we're excited to be using the VLTED app. VLTED spelled VLTED. VLTED is a place where you can store sports predictions and participate in cash prize pools without any entry fee. Download the app and join the Richard Sherman Monday Night Football Week 7 pool for a chance to win $2,500 in cash prizes. Again, it's totally free to join the pool. All you have to do is answer the questions and risk confidence points on each prediction for a chance to beat me and Mitchell, of course, and walk away with some serious cash prizes. Congratulations to our 3 winners from the last pool. Same stakes this week. First place takes home $2,000. Make sure you join my Week 7 pool. And remember, VLTED offers free pools with cash prizes every single day. Last time, Mitchell won 2 out of 3. I know, guys. I know. He finished 9 units up. Don't look all pretentious. No, I don't need all that, Mitchell. After one challenge, I'm down 9 units on the season. But it's not over. It's not over. It's the first to 50 wins. Not the first to 9, the first to 50. Our VLTED Challenge. Mitchell, what's your first pick?
Well, first off, Rich, I just want to make things clear here. The whole reason we have this partnership with VLTED is because I have become the prediction master. And the volume just said, hey, we have got to partner with a brand that allows Mitchell to showcase his skill set with his predictions. I mean, let's not forget Tony Pollard, Rich, last year's breakout player offensively, at least in fantasy. And Richard, this year, Sam Laporta. Let's not forget the Detroit Lions struck gold in Iowa City. Come on now. So here we are, a year later, the volume has presented us with an awesome partner in VLTED. And Richard, I'm back for our second pool to kick your ass once again. Oh. This time, though, this is going to hurt, too, because the Vikings, they're playing your San Francisco 49ers. And Richard,
go with your division rival, Mitchell.
I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit. The Vikings without Justin Jefferson and the 49ers fresh off taking an L to Cleveland. The Vikings are going to cover 7.5.
Wow.
I'm going to risk 5 units here. I know it might sound crazy, but I'm taking the Vikings plus 7.5 to make the cover. Richard, why do you accept my vaulted challenge?
Mitchell, I accept it willingly and freely and openly because, Mitchell, that's insanity. But I don't want to stop you, Mitchell, because I need a comeback. So risk 5, maybe risk 6.
Well, Richard, part of me, I feel sorry for you ultimately, so I feel like I have to make this pick.
Hey, Mitchell,
yeah. So
I have no
part
pride
of me
about
is just
taking
trying
wins,
to let you get back into the game here.
Okay.
But ultimately, what's going to happen is the Vikings are going to cover, and you're just getting more behind. So that will start there. My second prediction, Richard, and this one's it's National Tight Ends Day today, after all.
Right.
I predict the former Lion tight end, TJ Hawkinson, will have more receiving yards than your boy, George Kittle, Mr. 1 reception for 1 yard last week. George Kittle. TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, yep. And you know what, Rich? I feel very confident about this. I'm risking 8 units here. TJ Hawkinson, better than George Kittle. Richard, why do you accept my vaulted challenge?
Mitchell, because National Tight Ends Day, they got a picture in the dictionary, Mitchell, of National Tight Ends Day. Guess who it is? It's George Kittle in that Iowa jersey, in that 49ers jersey, Mitchell. Tight End University. Mitchell, that's but whatever, Mitchell, I my goodness, I graciously accept. Humbly.
Richard, I'm gonna take it one step further here. Just to really kick you further while you're down, because they're not going to cover. I'm sorry, the Vikings are going to cover the 7.5 point spread. TJ Hawkinson is going to have more receiving yards than George Kittle. And you know what? The big bruiser, the 49ers will not have the number 1 seed in the NFC at the end of this season. Richard, I know it might sound crazy, but I'm taking my Detroit Lions to secure the number 1 seed, despite absolutely getting obliterated in Baltimore. And yes, you might ask, Mitchell, have you been drinking today?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
The answer is yes, Richard. I have been, but I still feel very confident. And Richard, I'm risking 6 units here. The 49ers will not be the number 1 seed in the NFC this season. 6 units is risk. Richard, why do you accept my vaulted challenge?
Mitchell, I could not accept it more graciously and excitedly because they're going to be the 1 seed, Mitchell. I can name a number of reasons. Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, the defense, Nicholas John, both. You know my soiree. You know what I mean? You know where I'm going to go with this, my whole spiel of sorts. But I thank you, Mitchell. I appreciate that because that's going to be it's going to be a lot of points for me, and I'm excited. This is your week's vaulted challenge. Those are your predictions for Monday Night Football, Week 7. They're locked into the vault. If you want to prove you're smarter than your friends, go download the Vaulted app and use the challenge feature. And make sure you enter the Richard Sherman Week 7 Monday Night Football pool, because not only do you have a chance to beat me, which you're probably not going to do. Now, you're not going like Mitchell is. You don't bet with your money with old Mitchell over there.
Right.
But it's totally free to join, and first place wins $2,000. I will also send the pool winner a challenge of my own. Remember, Vaulted is spelled VLTED, and the QR code is right on the screen. We make it pretty easy for you, baby. Download the app today.
Richard's excited to take his second L in this week's vaulted pool, so I'll leave you with that.
Mitchell, I'm not an R&B singer. You ain't gonna do me LL. I know that.